안녕하세요. Today, the company that Jinri is going to talk about is called WeWork. Their slogan, they didn't really have a slogan, but they call themselves like create a world where people work to make a life, not just a living. So we'll see kind of what they do. These are the things that I had trouble understanding what it was. So first is S1 filing. This is the definition. Register a company's securities prior to listing them on a public exchange, such as New York Stock Exchange. So they're not publicly on exchange right now, so they had to file something, which I will be talking about later. And to do this, you have to basically tell everything about your company. And this company, actually, I could look up their S1 filing, which was kind of fun to see. Second is IPO. A lot of people do know, but I thought it'd be nice to have, which is initial public offering. So it's a process of offering shares of private corporation to the public in a new stock issuance. So basically, what this is I'm saying like, okay, I'm making my share, so my company stock, Jinri TV, it's gonna be going public. So I can allow people, anyone to buy my share. But before, if I were to do IPO or like do my S1 filing, like be on a public exchange, to get funding, I would have to go through like private funding. So any like, we've talked a lot about like venture capitalists. Finally, write down. So it's basically, it's a reduction in the book value of an asset due to economic or fundamental change in the asset. So this is kind of common in the businesses that produce or sell goods. So WeWork, this is actually our story thing in their homepage. I looked it up. It says, when we started WeWork in 2010, which we will talk about in depth, we wanted to build more than beautiful shared office space. We wanted to build a community, a place you join as an individual, me, but where you become part of a greater we. A place where we redefining success measured by personal fulfillment, not just the bottom line. Community is our catalyst. So what this is basically a shared office space. There's pros and cons about this, but that's basically what WeWork is. So I've been there. It's very cool. It's very trendy. It's very beautiful. I got some pictures to share with you guys. So one thing good about this place, it says 80% of members reported increase productivity since joining the community. 78%, like all high numbers, say this is a great place. It's so beautiful. I love it. And what good thing about this place is it has super fast internet, business class printers. This is exactly the word I got from their homepage. I thought it was cute. Free refreshments, on-site staff, private phone booth. All what you need to run a business, right? This is actually a picture that I got. So it's just a big office space, but there's a bunch of different startup companies there. There's chairs, there's pool tables. The one I went into in Korea, I went to the one in Yeoksam. I think Korea has like a couple of them too. It was very pretty. I was like, wow. And when you go in, it's like recognized by facial recognition, so no one can go in. You have to go in and be like, and then go in. And if you're a guest, you have to talk with the front desk and kind of like set yourself in, which I thought was pretty cool. Here was the front desk. I think this one doesn't have the facial recognition, but it was in Korea. Very, very like unique, high fashion, pretty. Also, when they had fresh refreshments, they had coffee, milk, like soy milk. And the best thing is some of the WeWork companies actually had beer. Free beer. And you just drink. You were like, hey, it's just drinking time. You just drink with staffs, people, any other startup companies that was happening, just drink. They gave free like coffee to drink in the morning. They had new like milk set up in the fridge every time. And they didn't use paper cups. They used like regular cups, not like the plastic cups. And that was all cleaned in the morning. They had really nice mugs. It was just like cool. It felt like it would be one of the places where the popular startups would start. And oh, and they had water. They made this every morning. I thought this was crazy. If you were to imagine regular business settings, they wouldn't have these. This is actually where they're located. I kind of looked it up. You can see like the increasing. They started with two branch in 2010, got to 7. Now in 2019, they have 528 locations with WeWork. So I picked up some areas. Definitely, I got Korea. I also looked up Taiwan. They only had 1 in Taipei. And this is near where I live. I live near Chicago. And there was 13. Actually, less than Korea. So I got the cost. We're going really in depth because they didn't have much of history. But we're going deep, like cost-wise. This one I got for Chicago. So the cost is different. It varies depending on where you are. And I just got Chicago. I thought this was like the safest. But it's like for a private single office, which is like my area. So literally, like the place that I'm streaming, like this small area, that would be a single private office, which is like $750. Membership cost, so 2 seats would be $1,000. So 2 people, which is cheaper. So I guess if you're like a double streamer, if you have 2 people streaming together, $500. So it's basically how much you'd pay for a rent. Some of the well-known customers who were in WeWork was definitely Reddit. Consumer was a app related to purchasing and Bitocracy. This is actually a fitness app, fitness gaming app. In 2010, they actually sent a couple members from PepsiCo. They sent some members to go to WeWork for any to do some advising. Good companies still use WeWork. So now, what is WeWork? Let's kind of dive into the history. So I will be first introducing this guy, Adam Neumann. In 2019, if you were reading the news, you might have heard a lot of things about this guy because he kind of was popular in 2019 when WeWork was kind of going now. So he's raised on a kibbutz in Israel. So he's from Israel. So he moved to New York City in 2011. So funny story of how he started WeWork is he entered a entrepreneurship competition in college. He went to Baruch College, is business administration and entrepreneurship, and the professor there was like, he came up with this idea, and the professor actually shut him down. It was first step, and the professor was like, you can't succeed with that idea. And he was like, oh, really? And so that kind of drove him to, work hard. This guy asked, did you know the outset that you want to study business? And he said, growing up in Israel, I watched a lot of American TVs and thought it'd be what the cool people did. And I wanted the same thing. So this guy, personality-wise, I think he's I want to be one of those cool people, living in America, but he still worked hard. One thing that he did before making WeWork was called crawlers. Which is kind of ironic. He was only 20-some and he made baby outfits. He was not married at this time. And what this is it's knee pad work. It's baby outfit with knee pads. He was working in an office. Next person I'm going to introduce is Miguel McKelvey. So he's from Oregon. Before he worked as a PM in architect in New York, he went to Japan and started a website. And what that was connecting Japanese and English pen pals. And he got tired of that job. So he's like, okay, we're going to move to America. Gonna get a real job as an architect firm in Brooklyn. We're gonna work there. One day in 2001, they met in the office. They actually were in the same office together. They were like, we should do something together. This is typically how everything starts, right? Neumann asked McKelvey to design a new office space for one of his ventures. And then that's how they got the idea of So in 2008, Neumann was definitely still working on the crawlers, and McKelvey was in the architecture firm. McKelvey convinced Neumann to be this office sharing thing, I think that's a really good idea. We should maybe start a new thing about this. So they actually convinced their landlord to give them a space that the landlord had, an extra space. And they turned it into a semi-communal office, and they rented it. And they named it Green Desk. And the reason why this green desk was like so popular was that it's just New York. The housing fee, any office fee, so much. So if you were to be in a co-working space, people thought this was sensational. And it's like cheap too. I only have to pay like a rent fee of like $700, which might be like how much I have to pay for rent right now. So this actually got very, very popular. And how they marketed this was they put it on several Craigslist ads, but they only did this in 2010. They sold the green desk to the landlord and came up with their new idea called WeWork. So they came up with WeWork. So when they started this business, they still did need some money. So they found a venturer. So they found someone who can give me money. So he got it from this guy named Joel Schreiber. This guy. Yay! He didn't negotiate. He said yes because he loved Adam's energy. When Adam is trying to persuade their partner, or like their soon-to-be partners, they like to take him out on parties, and he likes to show that WeWork is like a party room. So he's like, yeah, this is how we roll in WeWork. Like, and he also gives tequila shots after they finish like with the meetings. He's like, okay, now we're partying. So the first building was established in Soho at 154 Grand Street. So this is their first building. It wasn't as cool as the ones we saw, but it's still like you have the chessboard. You have like red color chairs. You usually don't normally see that in like a working place. Their second location was the Midtown directly across from the Empire State Building. And then the other one was in the Meat Packing District, connecting 3 buildings on one of the hottest corners in the city. And I can like rent the room for $700 some. Hell yeah, I'll definitely go there. Who wouldn't want to be there? Like, I can be like, hey, I work in New York. And my office space, we can see the Empire State Building. So 1 year later, they got more office spaces, more places. They actually expanded way, way, way far. Like, not only in New York, but in like somewhere in Boston and like LA, San Francisco, getting all the big cities. And it got super sensational, so that Benchmark Capital decided to give them $100 million. They're media-shy venture firms. They backed eBay, Twitter, and Uber. So in 2014, there was spread of word being like, inside the phenomenal rise of WeWork. It's like so cool, like everything is going so popular. They were like, in February of 2014, JP Morgan, everyone knows where JP Morgan is, led a massive and secret $150 million investment. Guys, this is already $250 million investment in 2-3 years. Also in 2015, we had Artie Minson as president and COO, and I got his career history, and he's actually a really, really nice guy too. He worked at AOL. He also worked in Time Warner Cable as a CFO. They were getting all these like really, really famous people to work for them. So in 2016, they were raising $260 million from a Chinese large hotel company. So now Asia is very curious in this WeWork company. In 2017, we had SoftBank Mull's investment over $1 billion. What is SoftBank? This is the CEO, and this is the company logo. It's actually a Japanese multi-nation holding company. Some of the funds that they had was Sprint, Alibaba, Yahoo Japan. In 2017, they finally moved to China. They're like, okay, we'll set up a place in China. In 2019, here is where things start to get kind of stinky. So first, there was a news article that says WeWork co-founder has cashed out at least $700 million via sales loan. So this Adam guy, you're doing something smelly, stinky right now. You're like, you're taking out cash? What is this nonsense business? But at this time, what you're supposed to be doing was they were planning to do an IPO. So right, we're doing an IPO and you decide to take out money, huh? But then, like, they were like, well, we're trying to raise $3.5 billion, but taking out cash, huh? But remember, guys, when you're trying to do an IPO and the S1 filing, which was going to happen in August. This means that you're basically showing everything of your company, like what the technology was. Well, we have a bunch of analysts, right? There's a bunch of analysts who was like, hey, let's look into this WeWork. Why are they making so much money? Like billions and billions, huh? WeWork is the most ridiculous IPO of 2019. It's starting to fall apart. They were like, well, actually, if you look deep down, it's just a real estate company. You just lend room. You don't have any like technology. There's nothing special about this. So a lot of analysts ended up saying, in the future, right now, this is just a bubble. If you actually purchase it, there's no way the IPO is gonna get higher. There's no way for this business to succeed. That's why a lot of the analysts were like, hey, this doesn't have any values. And there are other businesses that's actually better than WeWork. But also in 2019. So what happened is that they were like, hey, we have to delay this IPO. WeWork decided to delay IPO, which is actually a very, very big thing to happen. If you were to delay an IPO, this kind of means that there's some problem in your company. One thing that was the big problem was, I got this picture. WeWork realized all the things that Adam did. They were changing the government. And it means that like they're changing all the rules first. And other thing was that, you remember, if Adam were to die, the WeWork board would not pick separate one to be the CEO. It would actually be the wife becoming the CEO. He had to give all of the company feedback that he received from real estate that he dealt with when he entered secretly with WeWork company. They had to rearrange the government system in WeWork. That's why they had to slow down the IPO. And finally, no member of Neumann's family can be on the companies. So the selling begins. We start selling off. First thing that WeWork decides to sell off is the luxurious private jet that Adam had to fly all over the world. I was like, wow, you have a 60 million luxurious private jet. Why the hell do you need this? Well, I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, so it's $60 million. The reason why he bought it was he had too much marijuana. What that means was, there was an article that says this guy used a private jet to fly to one of those like Bahamas or anywhere that like marijuana was free or like any drugs. He brought all his friends to the private jet because if I go use a regular airplane, my drugs are gonna get caught. I can't bring it back. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna get a 60 million private jet. I'm gonna go, have so much parties, like, chill around, like party all around, like 24 hours party, bring some back to US, and you know, no one will know about it because it was in my private jet. Also, he used money, I just read this, I thought it was funny, to throw an in-house concert. WeWork was kind of famous for like crashing and burning. So burning of cash, being like, I swear I gave you like $1 billion and you're saying you don't have money. Where the hell did you use my $1 billion? Well, guess what? I had to, you know, like not only buy like real estate buildings, but I had to get some weed. Next thing that he had to sell was 3 business for sale. They had to give a meetup, managed by Q and conductors. So they were like, hey, we can't afford to have you guys anymore. Sorry. So they said bye-bye to those. This was another story about his private jet. But also, WeWork also had to fire not only the private jet, but 20 of his Neumann's family and his friends. Well, I can imagine. Remember, they were like, hey, no one on board member can be your family, so you're getting kicked off, guys. And lastly, they said bye to 2,400 employees. But this was only in November. They actually had another firing session of like 3,000 employees like before this. But this is the only article that I can find. And so, yep, so it's like 2,400 was in November plus like 2,000 more like before this. So it was actually total of 4,000 employees. But they were like, we don't have money anymore. We need to fire you guys. And this was all in 2019. Guess where it started? When he was revealing the IPO, when he wanted to do the IPO, revealing about his company S1. And remember, he took off the $700 million cash right before IPO was gonna start, like the S1 filing. Interesting. Well, like now SoftBank's mad. Remember, this guy's a billion guy. He's like, my own investment judgment was really bad because he had to write down $9.2 billion when it was like $10 billion work. So if you figure out how much was lost, WeWork was supposed to be a $47 billion dollar value, which now became a $7.8 billion. That's like minus, I don't know, like 80% of value. So now SoftBank had to be in like $20 billion in debt. Now he's like mad. So SoftBank's like, hey, I'll give you $1.7 billion. Get out. But I was like, wait, why are you giving... Wouldn't you just sue this guy? Why are you giving him money? Well, I read somewhere, deep down, you know, that SoftBank also had the highest stock in WeWork. So he couldn't sue Adam because they're kind of like partnering with this like money business with the real estate. But he's like, okay, we need someone better. Like, you're ruining my business, especially with all the like the private jets and the marijuana going on. No. Now you have to go down. This is not happening, guys. You're causing this to failure. So finally, in September of 2019, Adam Neumann finally stepped down. You know what I thought was interesting is that, wow, this guy who had this like American dream. But I thought the funny thing was, even if he was going to step down, he had this ego of being like, hey, I'm not stepping down because my business or what I did was wrong. I'm just stepping down because maybe the business need a better person like that. So he's like, while our business has ever been stronger, you know, like we're strong, like, hey, WeWork itself was like super good. Yeah. You know, I've decided to kind of like step away, let someone else take over, because, you know, I've done my part. Because he didn't want to like seem like he failed and like all the money's been taken, remember? So he finally stepped down. So, and then like I said, SoftBank offered a package. They gave him a package of $1.7 billion, which included this was funny. It included his consulting fees and all these things from SoftBank. You guys are very fishy, but we'll see. So it's $1.7 billion, and with 970 million for his remaining shares, 185 million consulting fees, and 500 million in credit to assist him to repay his loan. Was all provided by SoftBank. Very fishy. So anyways, so WeWork in 2020. Let's see. So I guess this is technically not 2020, but I wanted to see how much was lost. So they had a loss in quarter three, which quarter three is like October, November, September, October. 아니지. 뭐냐 quarter 3가. Anyways, quarter 3 of 2019, they were in like what is this? 2 million office leasing, but now they dropped down to 184,000. Oh, July, August, September. Thank you. Anyways, the change is 92 negative. The people are like, I'm not gonna stay here. This is waste of my money. My money, dude, my money. And I have all these people being like, this is not the way everyone behaves. And finally, WeWork decided to hire a real estate pro. I really like this. Like, now they need a pro to run this company as a CEO to attempt to turn around the company. So they're still in there, and like I said, WeWork is kind of taken over by SoftBank right now. So we'll see. And finally, a lot of small investors decided to sue Neumann for the IPO failure and all the money loss. So you can see like so the minority shareholders decided to, because they had a value drop of 87%, they're like, hey, we're suing you. And not only they're suing Neumann, but they're also suing SoftBanks too. So we'll see also how that goes. So keep aware of what that's being right now. But anyways, that's all I have for WeWork. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I really had fun. Yay. I'm done. Party. Did you know this is all the news articles I read?